It was nighttime when the city clock announced 12 o'clock. At that moment, the air seemed to stop. No dog barked, no sound of any car was heard, as if the city had held its breath. At the very last corner of the city, there was an old bungalow. People said that every year, someone met a painful death there. And whoever went there that night never came back completely. That night, Armin, Sana, Imran, and Hira decided to go there. Armin always used to say, if ghosts really existed, the world would have ended by now. While Hira's heart was already trembling. As she sat in the car, she said, I feel like we shouldn't go. But the car had already started moving. And the road that led toward that bungalow only went forward, not back. As soon as they crossed the bungalow gate, mobile signals went dead. The car stopped on its own. And then, from inside the bungalow, the sound of someone crying came. As soon as they stepped inside the bungalow, the temperature suddenly dropped. The red marks on the walls were not just stains. They were handprints. Sana touched the wall and screamed. The wall was wet, and fresh blood was dripping from her fingers. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. You will also die here. When everyone turned around, there was no one. But on the floor, fresh drops of blood had formed, which were slowly moving toward Sana's footsteps. And then, Sana disappeared. Only her scream remained, which kept echoing inside the bungalow. Sarah didn't realize when the floor beneath her feet softened. At first, she thought it was dust. Then her foot sank in. She screamed. Adam turned around just in time to see Sarah being pulled down slowly, as if the house itself had opened its mouth. Her hands clawed at the wooden floor, nails breaking, skin tearing, blood smearing everywhere. Help me, Sarah cried, her voice cracking in pure terror. Ian grabbed her arm. Hannah grabbed her other hand. But the floor was alive. It tightened. Bones cracked. Sarah's screams turned into choking sobs as her chest was crushed by the pressure. The walls around them began to bleed, thick dark blood flowing downward like tears. Written on the wall, in fresh blood, were the words, "First payment accepted." Sarah's head was still above the floor. Her eyes locked with Adam's. "Adam, it hurts. I can't breathe." Then the floor snapped shut. Silence. No body remained. Only a wet, breathing sound beneath the floorboards, as if Sarah was still alive down there, suffocating forever. Hannah collapsed, screaming. Ian vomited. Adam stood frozen. And then the house whispered. 3 more. They ran. The hallway stretched unnaturally long, lights flickering like dying heartbeats. At the end was a single wooden door, slightly open, breathing warm air. Ian reached it first. The moment he touched the handle, the door bit him. Wooden jaws slammed shut on his arm. Ian screamed as the door pulled him inside inch by inch. His arm bent the wrong way. Bones pierced through skin. Blood sprayed across the walls. Adam tried to pull him back. Too late. The door slammed shut. From inside came chewing sounds. Crunching. Swallowing. Then silence. The door slowly reopened. Nothing inside, except a pile of crushed bones arranged neatly like a smile. On the door, written in blood, "Second payment." Hannah began hearing voices. Not from the house. From inside her own head. "You were never meant to survive. You died here once already. Look at your hands." She looked down. Her hands were covered in blood that wasn't there before. The mirrors showed her face rotting, skin peeling, eyes hollow. She screamed and smashed the mirror, and saw herself standing behind her. The reflection smiled, then stepped out. Hannah's screams echoed through the bungalow until they suddenly stopped. Adam found her later, hanging upside down, eyes open, still blinking. Adam was alone now. The house showed him his past. A hit-and-run accident, years ago, buried in silence. A man dying on the road. Adam driving away. The house spoke. Blood demands blood. Hands emerged from the walls. They dragged Adam into the basement. Chains wrapped around his body. Fire ignited. Adam burned alive, screaming until his lungs filled with smoke. His final breath fed the house. Morning came. The bungalow stood clean, silent. A new sign appeared outside. Vacant, for visitors. Underneath, written faintly in red, "Tonight is the blood night." And deep inside the walls, for new voices screamed forever, the bungalow was silent again. Not peaceful silence. The kind that presses against the ears until the mind begins to scream. The walls stopped bleeding. The floor dried unnaturally fast, as if the house had finished feeding. Deep inside the basement, Where Adam had burned alive, the ashes began to move. From the blackened ground, a thick, wet book slowly rose, its cover stitched together with what looked like human skin. The smell was unbearable, burnt flesh mixed with old blood. The book opened by itself. Its pages were not paper. They were layers of peeled skin, names carved deep into them. Sarah, Ian, Hannah, Adam. Each name was written in a different shade of blood. The house inhaled. A new page formed. Fresh. Empty. Suddenly, footsteps echoed upstairs. A family passed outside the bungalow gate, laughing, talking about cheap property prices. The book trembled. On the empty page, letters slowly carved themselves, as if an invisible knife was working patiently. Next visitors pending. The walls whispered together, not in words, but in pain. Inside the floorboards, Sarah's muffled choking could still be heard. Inside the door, Ian's crushed bones cracked again. Inside the mirror shards, Hannah's eyes blinked endlessly. Inside the ashes, Adam's scream replayed on a loop. None of them were allowed to die completely. Their suffering powered the house. Outside, the family stopped. The father read the sign aloud. Vacant, for visitors. The mother smiled. The child pointed at the bungalow. Why does it look like it's breathing? The front door creaked open on its own. Inside the basement, the blood book turned another page. And waited. The family stepped inside. The moment the last foot crossed the threshold, the front door sealed shut with a sound like snapping bones. The air changed. It grew thick, hard to breathe, like lungs were filling with something invisible. The little boy coughed first. He held his chest and looked up at his parents, confused. His breath came out in short, broken gasps, as if something was squeezing his lungs from the inside. The lights flickered. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. The mother screamed when she noticed the walls. They weren't painted. They were layered. Faces pressed from the inside, mouths open wide, eyes rolled back, skin stretched thin like plastic. Fingertips scratched silently, begging to be released. The boy was lifted off the ground. No hands touched him. His body bent backward violently, spine arching until the sound of cracking echoed through the hall. Blood leaked from his nose, ears, and eyes. Please, the mother screamed, crawling toward him. The house answered. The ceiling opened. Something black and wet dropped down, wrapping around the boy's head. His scream cut off instantly. When the thing pulled back up, the boy's body fell to the floor. Empty. Hollow. The father ran. The stairs turned into flesh beneath his feet. He slipped, nails digging in, tearing strips of skin away. The steps closed around his legs and chewed. His screams turned into bubbling sounds as blood filled his mouth. The mother was last. The blood book opened downstairs. A new name carved itself slowly. She felt it. Her skin began to peel on its own, layer by layer, nerves screaming as the house stripped her alive without killing her. Her final sound wasn't a scream. It was a whisper. It's still hungry. The bungalow fell silent again. Outside, the sign remained clean. Inside, the walls pulsed. Satisfied, long before the bungalow had walls. Before it had a door. Before it learned how to breathe. There was a pit. A deep, narrow hole dug into the ground, hidden from the city. People were brought there at night. Tied. Gagged. Alive. They were lowered slowly. Not to kill them quickly. To listen. The screams echoed beautifully inside the pit, bouncing back again and again until voices cracked and throats tore. The ones above believed suffering had a sound powerful enough to open gates. And it did. Something answered. Not a demon. Not a ghost. A presence that did not understand mercy, only hunger. The pit filled with blood. Bodies stacked. Breath after breath stolen and trapped underground. The earth absorbed it all. The first wall was built on top of that pit. Then another. Then a house. The presence learned structure. Learned rooms. Learned how to separate people before breaking them. It learned patience. Years later, when the city grew, the house remained. Quiet. Waiting. Inside the basement, the ashes shifted again. From the darkness, the shapes of Sarah, Ian, Hannah, and Adam pressed against the walls. Not as spirits, but as imprints, burned into the house itself. They weren't screaming anymore. They were part of the mechanism. The blood book absorbed the memory of the pit. A page flipped. The pit whispered upward through the floors, through the stairs, through the walls. More. Above ground, night returned. A police car slowed near the bungalow. The officer looked at the sign. Vacant, for visitors. He frowned, stepped out, flashlight in hand. The beam shook as it landed on the front door. For a moment, it looked normal. Then the door inhaled. The officer froze. The house recognized a new sound. A heartbeat. And deep beneath the foundation, the pit reopened its mouth. The police officer stepped inside. The door closed gently behind him. Too gently. His flashlight flickered, then stabilized, casting a narrow beam across the hallway. The house felt different now. Alert, focused, aware of fresh fear. "Hello," he called. His voice didn't echo. The walls absorbed it. The floor beneath him was warm. Not from heat. From circulation. Something moved under the wood, sliding slowly, following each step he took. At the end of the hallway, he saw it. An exit. A bright green exit sign glowing above a clean white door. Fresh. Untouched. Impossible. Hope hit him harder than fear. He ran. Each step grew heavier. The air thickened, pressing against his chest. His flashlight died halfway there, plunging him into near darkness, except for the glowing sign. He reached the door and pulled. It opened. Light spilled out. He laughed, one sharp, broken breath of relief, and stepped through. The light vanished. The door slammed. He was standing in a narrow vertical space. Walls inches from his shoulders. The smell of wet soil filled his nose. The pit. The same pit. Above him, the exit door sealed, melting into earth. The ground beneath his boots softened, began to sink. Hands erupted from the dirt, dozens of them, grabbing his legs, his waist, his chest. Fingernails dug deep, tearing uniform, skin, muscle. He screamed as they pulled him down slowly, deliberately, ensuring every nerve stayed awake. Mouth open, dirt poured in, teeth cracked. The last thing he felt was breath turning solid in his lungs. Above ground, the bungalow reset. The exit sign disappeared. The hallway stretched back to normal. In the basement, the blood book carved another name. The walls pulsed once. Satisfied. Outside, dawn approached. The house waited. Morning arrived. The sun rose. Birds returned. The city woke up. But the bungalow did not sleep. Its walls cooled, its floor hardened, its door relaxed into stillness. The house learned how to look empty again, how to hide the pulse beneath the silence. Inside the basement, the blood book closed. Not because it was finished, but because it was full. The names carved into its pages began to sink deeper, merging into the skin, becoming unreadable. They were no longer identities. They were fuel. Beneath the foundation, the pit shifted. It did not close. It never closed. It only rested, digesting breath, pain, unfinished deaths. The screams stopped being sounds. They became pressure. That pressure traveled upward, through pipes, through nails, through beams, into the structure itself. The bungalow straightened, stronger than before. By noon, a real estate banner appeared outside. For sale, great location. No stains visible. No smell. No warning. A couple stopped to look. They commented on the space. The price. The quiet neighborhood. The woman hesitated. "Why does it feel heavy?" The man laughed. "Old houses settle." Inside, the blood book twitched. A single blank page peeled itself open. The front door unlocked. Somewhere deep in the walls, Sarah's choking resumed. Ian's bones cracked again. Hannah's eyes blinked. Adam inhaled fire. Not as memories. As systems. As machinery. The bungalow did not want revenge. It did not want justice. It wanted continuation. Night fell again. Lights turned off across the city. At the corner, the bungalow waited. Patient. Breathing. Ready for the next, the blood-soaked night. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon for more terrifying stories.